Hi, this is Dave. I want to talk about sales systems today, and this is a concept that can be applied by businesses. The chief sales officer or the CEO of a business can be applied by managers. It can be applied by managers, sales managers for their team. It can be applied by an individual salesperson. So it's a universally applied concept for all of the world of sales. At its most fundamental level, business is always and only about three things. It's about money, it's about people, and it's about systems. Now, there's a huge body of content revolving around money in business. Lots of books have been written. Lots of consultants' careers have been advanced in the pursuit of the wiser use of money, and a whole population of professionals, bookkeepers, accountants, CPAs, etc., have come into practice to deal effectively with money. So, of the three pieces, money, people, and systems, money is pretty well addressed. When it comes to people as an element in business, there is an equally impressive body of knowledge and infrastructure. Lots of books have been written, YouTube videos created, seminars developed, consultants' careers enhanced by our constant quest to hire, manage, and develop good people. The field of human resources is primarily devoted to that pursuit. So, again, of the three, money is well taken care of. Same with people, but what about systems? When it comes to systems, there is not nearly the quantity and quality of conversation. And yet, effective systems, particularly sales systems, are at the very least just as necessary to the growth and health of a business as good people and adequate funds. Good systems are where the company's financial assets intertwine with the people to produce results. Systems is what pulls those other two pieces, money and people, together. Often a company's financial or people woes are really a symptom of poor systems. We've all heard the analogy of the business necessity of getting the right people in the right seats on the bus. I'm sure you've heard that. But before we get the right people in the right seats, you must have the bus. And the bus needs to have identified seats for each of the people. And the bus has got to run well and be in good shape. That's the system. Systems are like the bus. Without effective systems, there is no place for any people. If your business is going to be effective, you must create effective systems so that you have the right places for the right people. Now, there's a fundamental principle at play here. Systems define the behavior of the people who operate within those systems. Effective systems make good people better. Poor systems encourage the worst in people. Let me give you a couple examples. Let me start with a macro example. So, in a big picture, for years, the USA and the USSR were in competition with one another. Their populations were roughly equal, and because of the massive size, 300 million or so, it's fair to assume that the distribution of talents and abilities were roughly equal. Their access to natural resources was roughly equal. Yet, one of those two nations far exceeded the other in economic activity, personal freedom, human expression, and quality of life. What was the difference? The systems. The people were the same, the natural resources were the same, the difference was the systems. One system encouraged individual initiative and excellent performance, and the other did not. People responded in kind to the pressure of the system in place. See, systems dictate the behavior of the people who operate within those systems. Now, let me give you an example on the micro level. For years, my wife and I were foster parents, and over the years, we fostered 19 children. Almost all of those children came from traumatic home situations, and they were emotionally upset and out of control. I would watch my wife impose our system on them. On the first day in our home, she would lay down the rules of the system. Here's your bedroom, she would say. You will sleep in the bed and not in the closet or on the floor. Here's the bathroom. You will wash your face and brush your teeth before you greet the family. Here's the kitchen table. You will eat sitting in a chair with silverware when the family eats. And wham, First day, down would come the rules or the system on these kids. And their behavior change was predictable. Within a few days, the new child would catch on and begin to modify his or her behavior to fit within the system. And that began the process of helping them to heal. As a consultant, I've personally and contractually worked with over 600 companies, one on one. And out of that experience, I formulated a principle for making positive changes within an organization. And my principle is this, quote, change the system, and you change the behavior of the people who operate within that system. Let me repeat it because it's a fundamental tenet. Change the system, and you change the behavior of the people who operate within that system. Now, over the years that I have been in practice, I have been able to make significant changes in a company's growth and profitability without even meeting most of the people. And I do it by analyzing and refining the sales system. So to extend the analogy, before you get the right people on the bus, the engine on the bus must be well tuned, the bus must have good tires, must be mechanically sound, must have the right number of seats, and ought to be heading in the right direction. Then you can put the right people on the bus. We have a great example of the importance of effective systems when we look at creation around us. At every level, from the way atoms come into and out of existence and interact with one another at the tiniest level, to the ecosystems that arrange and order life on the planet, to the movement and relationships of stars and galaxies and constellations. At every level, we see systems everywhere we look. The Creator did not just create stuff, matter, light, energy, and life in all its expressions, but he arranged that stuff into systems to empower its continued existence and development. I've concluded that creating, implementing, and forever improving powerful sales systems is the highest and best use of executive time and talent. So what does it mean to create a sales system? I realize that a lot of people have never used those two words together. Sales system. It means that you have considered your sales efforts and you've asked and answered this question. What is the best way to do this? The question is, what is the best way to do this? Not only have you answered it, but you've documented the answer. You've typically flow charted the step-by-step progression of events in that process. You've created ways to measure the input, the output, and the key steps in the process. You've created appropriate tools to facilitate the process. And then you've hired and trained the right people to operate the system. Once you've done that, then you measure and manage the system regularly and continue to improve it forever. So what does it mean to create a sales system? It means that. Let me repeat it. You've asked yourself, both at the 10,000 foot level, the system in general, as well as at each individual piece in that level, you've asked yourself, what is the best way to do this? Not only have you answered it, but you have documented the answer. You've typically flow charted the step-by-step progression of events in the process. You've created ways to measure the input and the output and key steps in the process. You've created appropriate tools to enable and facilitate the process, and you hired and trained the right people to operate the system. Then you've measured and managed the system regularly. That's what a sales system is all about. So the question is, okay, how to begin? Well, whenever I'm working with a client company, we always start with an understanding of the fundamental purpose of a sales system. Once we have that, everything we do can be built on that infrastructure. Now, I have a diagram that I use to convey that concept. Now, unfortunately, you can't see it on a podcast, but imagine, if you will, just a simple spectrum from one place to the other, from left to right. And on the left is a picture of the world, the globe, and then next to it, moving to the right, is the word suspects. Then a little arrow moves to the next word, which is prospects. Little arrow moves to the next word, which is customers. Little arrow moves to the next word, which is clients. And a little arrow moves to the final word towards the right side of the page, which says partners. So we have a globe, and then we have suspects, prospects, customers, clients, and partners. That little illustration is the fundamental idea upon which every sales system is built. Every sales system should be built on the concept of moving a sufficient quantity and quality of people into an ever-growing financial relationship with your company. Sales is about moving people closer and closer into a committed financial relationship with you and your company. And when you do that, money or sales just spins off. Sales are the fringe benefit of the work that you do with people. So a sales system begins with a globe, which I call the world of apathy and ignorance. Now, the reason it's the world of apathy and ignorance is because that's where your suspects live. You suspect they might do business with you. That's what makes them a suspect, but they don't know you, so they're ignorant of you, and frankly, they don't care. So they're apathetic. Their world is fine without you. They got this far without you. So the world of apathy and ignorance is where we start, and we reach into the world of apathy and ignorance through various means, and we identify some suspects. Again, those are people or companies who you suspect may do business with you one day. They live in a land of apathy and ignorance because they don't know you exist and they don't care. Now, the first step in the system is to identify on a continuous, regular basis an ever-growing number of suspects. Then we must move some of them to become prospects. Typically, we research them and drop some out of the process. Some of those suspects that we thought might one day become customers are not really viable, and so others are. And so we move some to the category of prospect. And a prospect is someone who has the need for your product or service, who can make the decision and can pay for it. Okay, so now we're moving from left to right along the spectrum. Next step is the most difficult. And in this step, we engage somehow with the prospect and entice him or her to buy something from us for the first time. When money changes hands, the relationship changes dramatically, and now they are a customer. Our process then indicates that we engage with the customer in such a way as to encourage them to buy repeatedly, at which time they become a client. And then we work with a select group of clients, turn them into partners. And when we do that well, in sufficient quantity and quality, money spins off as a result of our efforts, and our sales continually grow. They grow systematically, methodically, measurably, predictably. Now you can see there are three separate and distinct processes involved. One process is creating a customer. That's a separate and distinct thing. Second is taking a customer and turning them into a client, and a client is someone who buys repetitively over and over again. That's a separate and distinct process. And third, we encourage some of those clients to become partners. A partner is someone who is financially committed to us to such a degree that they just cannot imagine going forward without their relationship with us. So there are three fundamental processes: creating a customer, turning them into a client, turning some of them into partners. Now, there's an extensive list of things that can be examined and considered in order to shine a light on implementing effective sales systems within your business. And we're going to pick up on those on later podcasts. For now, though, here's a spot to begin. Begin to think about the idea of growing your business by creating and implementing effective sales systems. And you can just you can look at each of those places, each of those categories along the continuum, from suspect to prospect to customer to client to partner, and begin to ask yourself, how would you define each of those categories in your business, and how many of each would you have? See, begin to take this concept of a sales system at its most fundamental and basic level and begin to apply it as a way to understand what sales systems are all about. It's the first step. Effective sales systems are one of the foundational pieces that enable a business to rise to the level of sustainability and growth. That's a first step to begin to implement sales systems. We'll we'll deal more with it as we go. Now, before I close, I just want to encourage you to check out our Christian business group in the XI community. So XI is a online community. XI stands for Excellence and Influence. And we have three groups in it, and one of them is Christian business people. And we have content that we have developed for Christian business people. Not only that, but there's an opportunity to interact with other Christian business people on an online forum and continually grow yourself and your business. And it's only $5 a month. I'm gonna put a link in the show notes. Check it out, okay? XI Community for Christian Business People. That's it. We're done. Bye bye.